vouchers?
No, it's done. They are done.
Photo time.
Thanks, Val. Hey, I'd like to welcome everyone to the February 5th, 2024 Town Board meeting. Can we please rise for the Pledge of Allegiance? I'll make a motion to open up this evening's meeting.
I'll second.
Call the question.
Bingham, aye.
Scancarello, aye.
Cardone, aye.
Poole, aye. Richardson, aye.
Okay. Just a reminder, there were technical issues at the beginning of last month's meeting on the 17th. And the recording of the meeting needed to be moved upstairs, meaning George had to come up front. So I just want everybody to know that the first part was not on camera. We went into executive session while the technical difficulties were corrected. Then we came out of executive session, and that's where it started. Next up, rules of procedure. This was something that Councilwoman Richardson had questioned at the January reorg meeting. Council, do you want to comment on that?
Yeah, so the issue was whether or not the town board rules currently refer to Robert's Rules 11th edition, and the question from Councilwoman Richardson was whether we automatically go to version 12, and the answer is we do not. The provision, and I looked at the 12th edition, it's the same language, it's always been in there. It says you automatically roll over if you refer to Robert's Rules without specifying an addition, but the town board rules do specify an addition, so it would stay that way until and unless the town board decided to make a change. And the reason for that is you don't want, as a town board, rules automatically being put into effect that you haven't. So as it stands now,
Okay.
You just mentioned how we were also going off of small board rules, but like in reviewing this, it's just the specific ones mentioned, not all of the small board, right? Like we're sort of picking and choosing. We're not just going off of Robert's Rules as a whole or the small boards. We don't fall under that category innately, correct?
we do fall under the small board. I mean, that's
Just, you got a microphone up.
Rule 23, the following provisions as modified herein, Rule 49, concerning small boards shall apply to the town board of the town of Monroe, and then it outlines only 3 out of the maybe 8.
Yeah, I mean, I'm not looking at the rules. Whatever is in there, then that's what it says. The small board rules, if they're identified, that's what we selected to apply.
So I guess my question is then, when we adopt Robert's Rules of Order, are we adopting just those 3 small board rules? Is that what you're saying? Or just because like there's only...
No, we're adopting the small board rules as applying because that's optional under Robert's rules. They don't apply to everybody, so you have to
Right.
elect to be governed by small board rules because factually we're a small board. Robert's rules is generally in itself for legislative bodies where people that are members could stand up and raise a point of order, things happen.
Right, that's what I'm saying, is to adopt these only three implies that we are not innately a small board and that the other larger body of work applies to us and that we're modifying it so that we don't have to stand, he doesn't have to stand the whole meeting.
Yeah, that's the
Yeah.
small board portion of it we're
Yeah.
applying, but that doesn't mean we're excluding the rest of Robert's
Okay,
rules.
yep,
So they do apply, but I can say this, that in my 15 years of municipal law, I don't think Robert's rules, an issue has ever come up once where we actually had to, I know we're governed by it, but truthfully, in a small board like this, you're pretty much dealing with adjournment, motions, seconds, resolutions, and that's pretty much it. Occasionally an amendment to a motion, but we don't delve into 90% of Robert's rules because it apply to a body like a town board because we're not acting in a legislative assembly where we have 100 people and a lot more rules and yielding time and all that kind of thing.
so double discussion isn't an issue, stuff like that in a debate is not an issue. That's
No, we don't follow debate rules only because we go by motion, second, and then discussion. That would be our debate, but we don't have debate in the grand sense that people get up and take 5 minutes at the podium and then, yield time, the true debate
Right.
rules.
And I had one question. Do we need to first make a motion, make a second, and then go to discussion? I know there was also a little confusion two meetings ago, where if the motion is made, you can go right to discussion.
in a small board, not require a second.
Yeah, we generally have always operated motion second.
Or
and then
discussion.
Or discussion. So we're going to keep that.
Yeah, with the
Yes. I
exception
just wanted to
of-
clarify that we're
Yeah,
keeping
the
that.
only motion we usually deal with where that does not apply is a motion to table. There wouldn't be any discussion on that motion.
But I think the point is that in a motion, in a small board, say if I was the only one who wanted to discuss something or make a motion, I had no second on the board, what are we doing in that case? Because if we're a small board and we each are elected by the public, do we have the right to bring something forth and make that motion? Does it require a second?
Well, I think that depends. If you're making a motion, in order for the discussion to happen on that motion, it would require a second to move forward. But that's different than if you want to discuss an item, in other words, raise something for discussion. That would usually be a matter of procedure, whether it's new business or you have, sometimes boards have council person comment session or something like that, where you would raise an issue. I don't know that this board has really had that kind of, comment section for council persons. You could do that. Or you can just, ask to have the floor to discuss something, but ultimately it's up to the board as a majority that would decide whether or not to move forward on a discussion, or they could say, no, we don't want to discuss that, let's move back to the agenda.
Okay. Moving on. Item 3.1, 2024 tax season
Excuse me, Supervisor?
update?
There's a resolution attached to that. Are you?
No.
No.
there's
Okay.
no. Thank you, though. 2024 tax season update?
Yes. So the town clerk's office, tax collector's office continues to collect taxes now through April 1st. We are Monday through Friday, 9 a.m. to 2. Any payments that come in after 2 will get posted the next business day. January 31st, we were here from 4 to 6. We'll be back again February 29th and April 1st. Payments made after April 1st need to be sent to the Commissioner of Finance. Credit card and e-check payments, those will need to be made at the residence end. No cash payments. Please, if you send a check in, include your phone number. If for some reason your check needs to be returned and we can't get in touch with you, there's a possibility that you might, if it's towards the end of the month, that you might be on the borderline of hitting the March penalty, and we like to try to avoid that as much as possible. Right now, there's a 1% penalty for February payments. During the month of March, it's a 2% penalty plus a $2 second notice fee. And again, the last day for acceptance of taxes will be April 1st. It can be postmarked April 1st as well. Just know that it can't be a meter stamp. It needs to physically be postmarked by the post office. Right now, we are 81% collected.
Thank you. Great job. I know you've been busy the last couple of weeks, Val.
Yes, thank you.
Okay, item 4.1, I'll make a motion to open the continuation of the public hearing regarding local law H-V1 of 2022 to amend Chapter 57 zoning concerning regulations governing tree preservation.
Poole will second.
Call the question.
Bingham, aye.
Scarecrow, aye.
Cardone, aye.
Poole, aye.
Richardson, aye.
Anybody sign up to speak?
No public comment.
No public comment? Anybody want to comment from the board?
Yeah, I'd like to comment. I know we had the letter from Dennis Fordham regarding one of the applicants' questions regarding that. I do want to say I think green infrastructure is an important part of possibly mitigating trees that have to be cut down during a development process. True, trees are not a carbon sink. They do a wonderful job producing oxygen and, giving us shade, cooling temperatures. That being said, we still need some solar charging stations. I see a lot of flat roofs on commercial buildings, solar panels on there. I think would be a great alternative. As I said, I know it's not totally replacing the carbon sink principle, but I think having that as an option might be a very viable option for large commercial areas. I was trying to rack my brain as to back when the Harriman Business Park was developed, there were a lot of trees there. From what I remember, that used to be an old farm, and I could not remember what status the tree code was at that time. But when you're having 10, 20, 30, 40, 50 acres that have to be cleared for a commercial development, I don't know what the best alternative is for tree replacements. So that's my comment. I just think commercial properties need to be put in a slightly different category and allow some green infrastructure for them.
You know what, that's not a bad idea to think about that combination of things, right? To be able to provide for something along those lines. One of the things that I would like to see in the tree code is to make sure that the funds are going to a land preservation fund, right? To take the money that we're collecting for the trees that are taken down and make sure that we're funding something that's going to protect the land that we do have. That money could be used to help pay down some of the debt on acquiring land, and then also to make improvements to parks that the town already has. So I think with the combination, we'd be able to do a lot of really great things between that green infrastructure and then collecting the fees.
Yes, I agree completely with the sentiment of the comments already made, and I want to thank Dennis Fordham and the Conservation Commission for putting in so much work already on this. It's very complicated to take what, could have just been a couple edits to the law and then to hear and recognize the public and the sentiment of what's been going on, the push for preservation in Monroe, as we realize the value of what we have here so close to New York City, and to undertake this as a total code change. It's not going to have the same deadline. It's not going to have the same, expediency that we opened or that they opened the public hearing for in the first place. And again, thank you to Max Stack, who is our planner. And we are looking at really what I'm looking at is basically a total overhaul of certain sections. And we've received recently a very thorough public hearing submission, basically, which led to a meeting between myself and the Conservation Commission, which I think what I'm recognizing as certain aspects of the tree law, they would wind up in this dead-end zone for not only single-family homeowners, but those who also went to the planning board. But now, in our editing of this law and our changes, we were really focused on that area, those two zones. And in the coming years, we're going to see a lot of large-scale, potentially commercial developments. And what we realize is that these changes and what's written there now is really not something that is practicable for those type of developments. And we really need to not only think of the future of how we want to develop Monroe and allow those 30-plus acre parcels to be developed and how that would change the face of Monroe forever, but also make sure that we are not prohibiting that development and that step forward. So we are really going to be taking a look, as what I'm seeing from Dennis and the Conservation Commission, at that section and possibly even creating its own section. And I think I speak for everyone who voted for me when I say that that is going to be a section that we pay special attention to and really pay close attention to the comprehensive plan and the will of the public on that. But the Conservation Commission is a commission, and that was established many years ago, and their sole purpose is conservation and guiding laws and the science behind these laws on that. So they're really going to be giving us their advisory opinion and our planner. So we are going to do a lot of work on this. So thank you for your patience.
The only comment I have is, I think in item number 2 on page 21, it's under section 5786, tree mitigations. I would like the item number 2 at the end to say, and general ongoing maintenance of town-owned open space and parklands. I would just like that word added into it. Else? One sec. I have to make a motion to have that word added, correct?
Yeah, I would suggest making the motion. I'll
make a motion to amend on page 21, section 57-86, under A number 2, that after the words town-owned open space, we add the words and parklands.
Who will second it?
Call the question.
Bingham, aye.
Stankerello, aye.
Cardone, aye.
Who, aye.
Richardson, aye.
Okay. Dennis.
Hello? That's good. Okay, good. Dennis Fordham, Conservation Commission. Just one comment on green infrastructure. I fully accept that, yes, you could consider that as something that could be done and be somewhat of a mitigation for large projects, certain types of projects. But it is not an equivalency to preserving trees. That's all I would say. It's a totally different thing. Yes, green infrastructure, you can have a green roof, you can have solar panels, certain drainage systems, but they still don't do the same as the trees and the tree canopy in generating oxygen and absorbing carbon monoxide. So that's all I would say there. But yes, I agree that the tree code as it's written now deals with the smaller sites, the 1 acre, the 2 acre, the 4 acre lots. That's where it works, I think, extremely well. But with the larger lots, yes, there are other issues I think we all need to consider and perhaps look at what other municipalities have been doing in the past and propose doing in the future. I don't think we would want to be totally out of whack with what other municipalities in the areas are doing. That was all I would say. Okay.
Thank you.
Thank
Thank you for your comments and your hard work, Dennis.
Thanks, Dennis.
Okay, I'll make a motion to keep open the continuation of the public hearing regarding local law H-V1 of 2022 to amend Chapter 57 concerning the regulations governing tree preservation to March 4th at 7 p.m. or immediately thereafter.
I'll second.
Call the question.
Bingham, aye.
Scancarello, aye.
Cardone, aye.
All aye.
Richardson, aye.
Okay, so moved. Okay, item 4.3, motion to open the public hearing regarding proposed local law H-V1, 2023, to amend Chapter 40 of the Town Code regarding registration and permitting of property. Do I have a second?
I'll second.
Call the question.
Bingham, aye.
Scancarello, aye.
Cardone, aye.
All aye.
Richardson, aye.
Okay.
No
anybody?
public comment?
No public comment? Okay. So we have a resolution before us. Everybody should have a copy of it to approve this. Does anybody have any objection to approving it? We'd have to close the public hearing first and then approve it.
I had a question, possibly if Mr. Nugent could answer. One of the definitions for family, I believe, goes back to the zoning section of our town code. It says, in my teeny tiny print here, 57-3 family. I believe it says something regarding a traditional family. Nowadays, we have a lot of non-traditional families, so if you could just verify if 57-3 does make that reference to a traditional family.
So are you talking about the fact that the family definition refers to 57.3?
Right, and then in that section of our town code, it makes a reference to a traditional quote-unquote family.
I can look at that, but either way, we would then need to amend 57.3 in a separate local law. In other words, this law is not saying anything about what the definition is, it's just referring to 57.3. So if the board wanted to review amending that definition, obviously that would amend beyond just this law, it would amend that term throughout the code, the zoning code, since you'd be changing the language of 57.3. So that would need to be the subject of a different local law.
As I said, I just know nowadays there's a lot of talk about non-traditional families, so that
I
would
can
be
tell
my
you
only
that
comment.
even if your code says that, it wouldn't be something that would be enforced. In other words, you're not going to have somebody say, sorry, you're not a traditional family.
That was my concern.
Yeah, and so the language
not
could be
enforceable.
amended, but it wouldn't be enforced as written if that's what it says, traditional.
Okay, if it's not enforceable per that traditional, then I would be okay with accepting it the way it is, as it is.
Okay.
No?
I'm not sure why we would adopt a law in its current state if it's not enforceable. And as far as I'm aware, again, I'm new. I haven't been really briefed on any legal issues with this, but I'm pretty sure from the internet that this is, am I correct in assuming this is that there's some kind of legal matter over this law, or is this not?
There is a legal matter pending that would relate to the current version of this law.
Okay.
Secondly, it mentions traditional family. I just looked at that, but it also says or living in a functional equivalent of a family unit. So there's nothing wrong with that language or definition of family.
Thank you.
Okay. I'll make a motion to close the public hearing on the proposed law H-V1 2023 to amend Chapter 40 of the Town Code regarding registration and permitting of property.
I'll second.
Call the question.
Bingham, aye.
Scancarello, aye.
Cardone, aye.
All aye.
Richardson, aye.
Okay. I will now make a motion to approve the resolution, adopting a resolution of local law
Number 1 of
Number 1.
2024.
of 2024. Do I have a second?
I'll second.
I'll have Councilwoman Houle read the whereas.
Now therefore be it resolved by the Town Board as follows. Section 1, all whereas paragraphs are incorporated herein by reference as those set forth in full. Section 2, the town board hereby adopts local law number 1, titled Local Law Number 1, Local Law Amending Chapter 40, Registration and Permitting of Property, to simplify Article 2 governing residential rental permits in the form presented to the town board. Section 3, the town clerk is hereby directed to enter said local law into the minutes of this meeting and in the local law book of the town of Monroe, and to give due notice of the adoption of said local law by filing the local law in the office of the Secretary of State in the state of New York. Section 4, this resolution shall be effective immediately.
Call the question.
Bingham, aye.
Scancarello, aye.
Cardone, aye.
Poole, aye.
Richardson, abstain.
What, don't we need a reason to abstain?
Don't need.
I hadn't been briefed on the legal situation.
So moved. Item 4.5, a motion to open the public hearing regarding short-term rental application 649 Lakes Road with an SBL, section block and lot of 29-1-34.1.
I'll second.
Call the question.
Bingham, aye.
Scancarello, aye.
Cardone, aye.
Poole, aye.
Richardson, aye.
No public comment?
You do have public comment? Okay. All right, come on up. For future reference, and this is, you know, I haven't seen you here, so you have to sign up within 15 minutes of the meeting.
When we came in, we had asked, but nobody gave us that information.
Who'd you ask?
There was a gentleman standing out there. I don't know if he was part
Okay.
of the...
All right, no problem, no problem.
So just,
So you'll have up to 5 minutes.
Sure, thank you. First of all, thank you very much for allowing me to...
Just if you could
come by.
state your names and where you live, please.
Can you hear me?
Yeah, you're okay,
Yes,
fine.
my name is Ramon Carrion, and this is my wife, Yolanda Carrion. We recently moved to Monroe in 2017. We're at 661 Lakes Road. We're adjoining the property that's being discussed here, 649 Lakes Road. Actually, our property line is 18 inches from the south elevation of this particular property, so we're quite close. We moved here. We certainly love the town of Monroe, the beauty and the serenity that it offers to us. I am going to retire soon. My wife is retired. We have 3 lovely grandchildren. We take care of our property. We intend on living here until God takes us away, and we're quite concerned. We have no issue with the intent of any short-term rental, but we are concerned about the preserving the serenity of the town of Monroe. We're concerned about the upsetting the balance between a commercial property and all of the services that it's going to require to keep a short-term rental operating, deliveries, garbage, noise, in and outs of people that we do not know, people who have no interest in preserving what we have here in our town. Again, I have 3 beautiful grandchildren. We walk our property. We play. They play, I watch. But it's a safety issue for me as well, and it should be for everybody. Again, we don't know who's coming in, who's coming out and going. And so what do we do with that? So I'm here to ask the board to consider that, and also to consider, if you may, how are we going to enforce these codes for the short-term rental? You know, I have written a few letters. I have sent it in to the code. I'm sure you guys are quite familiar with it. I do have a construction management background, over 30 years working with the city of New York, building schools for the public school system. I am aware of code. I enforce it. I've read the codes of the town of Monroe. It's got a few loopholes, but all codes do. My concern is let's enforce it. I'd like to understand, how are we going to enforce short-term rentals? Case in point, code says if you have more than 10 short-term rentals in a 1 square mile area from the intended proposed short-term rental, that application should be denied. I have sent in, and I have done my research, and you have 17 short-term rentals within 1.2 square miles of 649 Lakes Road. I sent in the pictures, I sent in the addresses, I've looked it up, they're verbal, they're Airbnb, they may not be registered, and that may be the issue, all right? So that's the loophole. That's something that we should consider going forward. Additionally, this particular dwelling was built in the 40s. The fact that it was built in the 40s doesn't need a C of O. However, the state code indicates that if you do any type of upgrade to enhance or the safety aspect of this dwelling or enhance the dwelling, it automatically has to be given a C of O. Inspectors have to come in to see if it complies with all the code requirements, and C of O should be issued. It also says that after a permit's been pulled for any upgrade, that if it cannot be occupied for more than 30 days after the permit's been pulled, if it doesn't have a C of O. This property does not have a C of O. It is currently being occupied. So if we are having things like this occurring now, I am very concerned about what's going to go forward once it's given the go-ahead to be a short-term rental. And I just wanted to put that here to the board. I want you to please consider that. I am a member of the community. I have developed
Time's up.
friendships. And so my time is up. And I think you know where I was going. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you very much for your
Thank you.
insight.
Thank you for
Appreciate
your
it.
comments.
Anyone else?
Excuse me, sir. Can I just get you to sign in here for me, please? Right here, right here.
Right over there.
If you wouldn't mind just printing yours and your wife's name for me, please.
Pleasure of the board to keep this open for another month?
I believe so.
Yes.
Okay. So I'll make a motion to keep this public hearing regarding short-term rental application at 649 Lakes Road, SBL 29-1-34, 29-1-34.1 on March 4th at 7 p.m. or immediately thereafter.
Hool will second.
Call the question.
Bingham, aye.
Scancarello, aye.
Cordone, aye.
Hool, aye.
Richardson, aye. Can we also share all of the prior communications again on this for the public hearing, since he's invoked that he sent in materials, or just as a point of clarification, you sent the town communications. Okay, if you could maybe email them as a formal submission altogether for this public hearing, and that way we can all look that over, and I would be happy to take a
Madam
look
Clerk,
at that.
do you have the emails?
No.
Who did they go to?
Ben,
And Maldonado.
Yeah, that's our
Okay.
building inspector.
Okay, so
We can
what
get
I
them
will,
from Ben.
excuse me,
Sorry.
what I will do is I will have Ben Maldonado forward those communications to the town board, so you don't have to do anything. Okay.
And
You
any,
know what? I should say that he probably did forward to us in the application, and
Right, I was not on the
you
board.
probably were not on the board, so
Yeah.
you didn't get it, so we will forward them
Yeah.
to you.
And any further submissions, if you weren't able to complete your comment tonight or think of anything else in greater detail, this will be open, so you can email the clerk with the formal, subject line for public hearing, because this is the forum, the proper forum for all of those concerns and for people at home, for those concerns to be addressed now, this is exactly when they will go on to the permanent record for us to look at. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. So we made a motion, we called the question yet? No, call the question.
Bingham, aye.
Scancarello, aye.
Cardone, aye.
Poole, aye.
Richardson, aye.
Say so moved. Okay, item 4.7 is a motion to open up the continuation of the public hearing in relation to the increase and improvement of the facilities of Water District Number 8.
Bingham will second.
Call the question.
Bingham, aye.
Scancarello, aye.
Cardone, aye.
Poole, aye.
Richardson, aye.
No public comment?
No public comment. Any update, Mary?
WIA grants are coming up again. I did speak to Sean on a different matter this morning, and as I said, they're coming up again, and he's aware of that, so he'd probably be in touch with you as well as Millennium again.
Okay. So I'm going to make a motion to keep the continuation of the public hearing in relation to the increase and improvement of facilities of Water District Number 8. I'm going to make that for April 1st, 2024.
Bingham will second.
Call the question.
Bingham, aye.
Scancarello, aye.
Cardone, aye.
Poole, aye.
Richardson, aye.
So moved. Item 4.9 is I'll make a motion to open the public hearing on local law A-V1 2024 regarding the amendment to clarify Chapter 57 zoning regarding sewers. Do I have a second?
I'll second.
Call the question.
Bingham, aye.
Scancarello, aye.
Cardone, aye.
Poole, aye.
Richardson, aye.
No public comment?
Mary, you were working.
I'm on Chapter 41. This is the other sewer. I know it was confusing. I had this discussion with Valerie as well. This is the two-family overlay. We needed that clarification letter that Max sent. I know we also received a letter from the county thanking us for the clarification. So I actually believe that we can close the public hearing if that's the pleasure of the rest of the board, and we can adopt.
Make that motion.
I'll make a motion that the public hearing be closed.
I'll second.
Call the question.
Bingham, aye.
Scancarello, aye.
Cardone, aye.
Poole, aye.
Richardson, aye.
And then I'll make a motion that Mr. Nugent prepare a resolution for adoption at our next meeting.
I'll second that.
Bingham, aye.
Scancarello, aye.
Cardone, aye.
Poole, aye.
So moved.
Richardson, aye. There's 5 of us.
Item 5.1 is the acceptance of the January 17th, 2024 minutes. I'll make a motion to approve those.
I'll second.
Call the question.
Bingham, aye.
Scancarello, aye.
Cardone, aye.
Poole, aye.
Richardson, aye.
I don't think you can approve them if you were absent.
So abstain?
Item 6.1 is general fund abstract. I'll make a motion, be it resolved that the Town Board of Town of Monroe request approval of abstract 24-02 for the general fund containing checks 31266 through 31306 totaling $98,172.92.
Bingham will second.
Call the question.
Bingham, aye.
Scancarello, aye.
Cardone, aye.
Poole, aye.
Aye.
Okay, item 7.1. Be it resolved that the Town Board of Town of Monroe made a motion to approve the abstract 2024-8 regarding budget transfers to fix negative balances in the 2023 budget, a fund totaling $200,593.26.
Poole, second.
Call the question.
Bingham, aye.
Scancarello, aye.
Cardone, aye.
Poole, aye.
Richardson, aye.
Okay, so moved. Item 8.1, Eagle View Estates. Want to come up?
Good evening.
Evening.
Good evening.
We're here once again with the sewer matter on the subdivision. Last time I appeared in front of the board, Tony, you weren't here. We started, for the new member of the board, we started this procedure application in 2018 for what I feel is a simple two-lot subdivision. The planning board considered it 3-lot, but when Mike Donnelly was leaving the board, he said that the Walton Lake Terrace lot is pre-existing non-conforming, you can build on it. So since 2018, we're in front of the planning board. With me is Mr. Glenn Schaefer, the owner of the property. To date, we spent $125,000 in fees to the town and ZBA planning board, their consultants. When we're close to final approval, we get hit with, oh, by the way, you guys were removed from the sewer district. You're not in the sewer district. So I appeared in front of the board with the paperwork showing, and Mrs. Bingman's probably more familiar because she's sat on Mood board for many years. You're in the district you're in. They never take anybody out. So when I investigated, we came up with the confusion was that the planning board consultants were going by the lot section and block, not the actual map. Even despite that Mood wrote letters that were in the sewer district, they were looking at the lot section and blocks. So for some reason, the lot section and blocks would change on this project when they developed Twin Lakes. And we don't know why it was changed, and that's where the confusion came in. So when they came in front of your board that night, you all agreed that, yeah, the property is in the district. You sent a letter over to the planning board saying that. Now we go back to the planning board again with another $2,500 fee, and we tell them that, we're in the sewer district, we're not out. We spent the money with the engineers and consultants designing septic systems because your local law number 4, I believe it was, that you created for this situation while properties are in a sewer moratorium, that they can hook up to septic, and when the moratorium's over, they can hook up to the sewer. So based on that, we go back in front of the planning board. Planning board attorney says, well, even though you designed it, you got Board of Health approval, everything's good, you can't do it because the town code requires 1 acre to do a septic system. And these are half acre, so you don't meet the code. So now we're back to square one. I investigated further, and why I feel strongly that legally we have the right to hook up to the sewer. If you don't mind, I'll give you guys copies.
Thank you.
Granted by the town board of Monroe, was granted 3 sewer hookups with the approval of Philip Solano and then sent to Dottie Post at that time. Now, the reason it goes to Phil Solano, when they issue you hookups, they put it in the allocation. They allocate, they're issuing permits for those slots, and it's calculated into the allocation, okay? Then it's sent to the county, for the county to update their records, which the second page of that shows you that the county updated it and we have 3 sewer hookups to the property. Then it's sent back to Dottie Post. Dottie Post raised the assessment on the property, saying that, now it's got sewer, it's more valuable, so they raised the assessment on the property. But we're still stuck with the planning board. We had a meeting with the county. The county says that it's not their issue, it's Monroe, that they're over their allocation. But our numbers are in that allocation. When the permits were granted, when the hookups are granted, you're in that allocation. So I feel legally we're not changing the allocation situation, what these 3 houses are going to do. And the other thing that gets us a little bit, starting to get me frustrated, is that I understand allocations. Next year's 31 years I'm doing this, and especially in this area. Everything ends up in Orange County Sewer District 1. We're moving, everything goes down there, okay? But yet everybody's getting all excited and rushing the approvals for Woodbury Commons to build 2 new hotels at 125,000 additional square feet of restaurants. and that's going to Sewer District 1. We got simple little 3 houses there. How do we compromise this? There's 2 issues to do, and Mr. Nugent, I think, was brought up on it before. The town has to amend local law 4, saying that the local law 4 trumps the bulk requirements to allow septic systems to be hooked up on the 2 lots.
Question. Started out with 2 lots, and then you just made a statement about 3 houses.
It's not, well, the reason I'm saying it's 2 lots, the 2-lot subdivision of the one partial needed approval, but the Walton Lake Terrace is pre-existing non-conforming.
That's a separate lot than the 2 lots.
That's right. It's a separate lot. We can just, we're supposed to just be able to give the building inspector the plans, and we're supposed to be able to get a permit. So I feel that legally we should be able to, at the minimum, to hook up the Walton Lake, the Walton Terrace lot to the sewer, and then do if you amend the local law 4, do septics on those lots until the moratorium is lifted. Or, I really feel we were granted the permits. We should be able to hook up all 3.
The only other part of this that, and I'm in agreement with the theory here. The only other part of this which was omitted was the mix-up from our point came when in 2017, for whatever reason, the county took the properties off the tax roll for being in the sewer district. That's where the confusion came into play.
That's where the confusion came in.
And I think in 21 it was put back on the tax roll?
No, after consulting and talking with Muna, they said, we don't go by lot section and blocks. The line is drawn. That property is in the sewer district.
No, I understand that. But when it was, so from I think 2017 to then 2021, there were no taxes paid.
No, you're wrong. Taxes was like around 2019 or 2020 when they claimed it was removed. I have paid receipts on the sewer tax 17. So it was after that they stopped collecting the sewer tax on it when the lot section and blocks were changed. That's where the confusion came in. And despite Moonen even issuing letters that were in the district, the planning board, was going by lot section and block, and they insisted that we weren't in the district. As far as it coming out, we're not being hooked up to the sewer. Those fees that we were paying is minimal. I don't want to speak for the applicant, but I can tell you that if they want to backdate the taxes on it, it's peanuts. What wasn't getting paid because they weren't hooked up. We would gladly pay that. But the property was granted, 3 hookups. We're in that district. We're in that allocation. If our numbers, if we can't hook up, I strongly feel legally our numbers are in that allocation, and that means the allocation's all wrong, and it's going to take a year and a half for they say to start building these houses, and if the moratorium wasn't over, if they hook up to the sewer, these 3 houses are not going to cause an overflow in sewer district 1. I just feel legally, Nugent can speak to you about that. The town is basically making, with this situation, is making a property owner's property valueless, have no value. I feel there's an ethical situation there with, with the town taking, I don't want to sound crazy, but our firm represented 3 lots with the Legoland project. We got Legoland approved and built before I can get these 2 houses built. And I think it's kind of unethical and ridiculous to go through what we've been going through, that after paying $125,000 in fees, oh, by the way, you're not in the sewer district, or you can't hook up to the sewer. I don't think that's fair, and I really feel based on the minutes of the meeting and the county records, we should be able to hook up to the sewer. Now, Mr. Cardone knows that we had meetings with the county. The county tells us that it's up to the Monroe board. It's up to Tony Cordone and his board. I had conversations with Tony. He says that that's not true. The county tells us, you know, it's up to them. It's not up to us. But what do? How do we solve this issue? Your council's got to either quickly amend the local law 4 to say that it trumps the bulk requirements so we can do the septic system on the 2 lots. Or just let us hook up to the sewer based on we already have the hookups.
So just so you know, we just did a search in the county. So taxes for, and I'm just trying to clarify because you said I was wrong. So 2017 through 2023, there were no sewer taxes paid on those
Which
lots.
lot, section, and block you're looking at? Because
We're looking at
there was,
1860.
that's when the lot, section, and blocks were changed for Twin Lakes. I don't know why. They still kept it in, you know, collecting the sewer tax, but then they stopped. They stopped billing on, we didn't even know. Well, you know, I say 90% of the people, when they get their tax bill and they open it up, they look at the bottom line. They don't really look at the breakdown. You know,
Listen,
you hear that the county.
It's a minor point. I'm just saying that when things go through, that those taxes need to be made up to date.
We don't have a problem.
And I know that, and I understand that I don't want to be the one, and I don't think this board wants to be the one that says, hey, you got a piece of property? No, we're not going to let you do anything with it, because that's unfair. It's just a matter of getting through the legal aspect, and I'm going to leave that up to council to handle that part with the planning board attorney. And if I'm correct, the last exchange was they're entitled to the 1 lot and need to go back to the ZBA, or we had to amend, item 4?
No, the ZBA, we went to the ZBA. We went in front of the ZBA, and the ZBA wouldn't issue a variance, you know, based on the local law number 4, you know, that the town requirements for a septic system.
Let me ask you this. The question here is, you have 3 sewer permits, but at the time, there were only 2 lots. Right? Why? I'm just questioning.
If you read the minutes of the meeting, what happened back then was that.
It says you were granted 3 sewer hookups.
Right.
For 1 lot.
And let me explain the reason we were granted that.
Which is the
That
lot,
was-
that we just looked up.
That was granted because at that time, the planning board said to the applicant, you cannot do this subdivision, okay, because you're not in the sewer district. To be in, to do a 3-lot subdivision like this, you need to have sewers. You've got to be in it. So they appeared in front of the board, and the board granted them 3 hookups and putting those properties in the lower part. The line was there, but it was only 1 lot, section, and block. But they approved those hookups for the owner of the property, the 3 things. So then now you can go back in front of the board, planning board, and do the subdivision. So at least back then, I feel the planning board was ethical, saying, listen, you guys got to go to the town board first and, you know, either get permits or get the
Listen,
right.
I just want to stop you there, because I don't like inferring that our present planning board is not ethical, because I believe they are.
I'll apologize for that, but you know what? I talked to you a lot about this. The frustration is growing and growing and growing. I'm not even the applicant.
I'm not disagreeing with you.
Since 2018, this is going on.
John, I'm not disagreeing with you, and I want to get this done, but I have to get it done through the proper legal channels.
But how can a planning board let you spend $125,000 and spend since 2018, and when you're at the finish line, turn around and say to you guys, oh, by the way, you got no sewer, you can't hook up?
Unfortunately, sometimes we're bound by our ethics, and our planning board can only do what's within the written law. So this is really red tape that we're running into, and not a matter of that our planning board is not ethical, but we hear you in that this is very frustrating and that the situation doesn't feel ethical to you. But again, let's stay away from accusing any individual on this from being unethical. I have a question of that. You are saying that your GPD allocation for this property is actually, your opinion is that it's included in the 100,000 gallons that we're using, or allocated rather. However, just documents that I'm being given, they are saying that it's a sewer flow report that we are exceeding our allocation per day. So this to me says that, they are doing active reports on a daily basis or an annual basis, especially. That's what we're being reported on monthly and annually, and we're exceeding that. So that's where my vote comes in, is I don't see how this is even possible or feasible.
Well, what you just said, Mary used to sit on the board, I believe, at the Moonen, on the whatchamacallit. When it's sent to Phil Solano for approvals, and those permits are granted, they're put in the allocation, okay? Where your allocation, now you're being saying, these lots are in that allocation. So for you to say we can't hook up because you're over your allocation, you understand what I'm saying? We're in that allocation. When the permits are issued, they figure it in the allocation. So if
we're already so if it's in our allocation, we're already actively exceeding that through our discharge, which is measured. So that's where we are stuck.
That's where the conundrum is.
Yeah. So I'm not sure if that's how it actually is calculated, again, because this is more Mary's purview. But just to clarify on your statement, which you keep, bringing up, that is a matter that I would want to know before voting, because, again, I'm looking at a certain allocation that we've been given. You're saying that your property would be within that. But once again, we're exceeding that by active measurements of active waste.
I understand.
So, yeah.
I understand that 100% that you're exceeding it.
Yeah.
Okay? You're missing the point. Whatever they allocate for 3 homes in the sewer district, in them numbers.
Right.
So by you refusing us to use them numbers, your numbers are wrong. Your allocation numbers are wrong. They are already figured into that. You're not minused out because we didn't build yet.
Council, I don't know if you want to chime in here.
Well, yeah, so let me say a couple of things. First of all, you're talking about all this going through the planning board, and they kind of like making it sound like they pulled the rug out from under you. The county made the determination that the town was not permitted to have any additional hookups because it had exceeded its capacity through the Moodna agreements, the 133,000 or whatever. It had exceeded that, and therefore they said, and I think they even specifically reviewed this request from the town engineer and said, no, as we told you, you cannot hook up any additional Moodna properties to the system, because until you reduce or get your capacity back to where it should be. That's, so to speak, the moratorium. That didn't come from the planning board. It didn't come from the town. The town would be more than happy to grant more hookups, but we can't, because that's the restriction imposed by the county. So now
we're going to have to, I hate to prolong it any longer, but we had a meeting with the county. And I will bring the gentleman that we had the meetings with the county, even though 2 of them reneged on it. I'll bring them to this meeting. They physically told us the town of Monroe can have you hook up, that Tony Cordone, they specifically mentioned his name, has the power to let you hook up to these sewer, okay? That you should, if we were you, you guys should sue the town of Monroe over this. This is what the county told us. And I know when Tony had a conversation with one of them, they said it wasn't true.
I don't need to bring them here.
But
I'd be happy with a letter.
We have 2 people that would verify, county people in the sewer district, that said you guys should be suing Monroe.
Look, here's an easier suggestion. We don't need you to bring anyone here. Have them send a letter to the town saying that these properties located in Moodna are authorized to hook up, and we're not governed.
To that end, though, we actually have a statement from Eric Denenga, the commissioner of
Right,
DPW,
I know that,
county.
but that's from, and I don't know when your conversation was, that was in August of 23. He said, you can't hook up specifically these properties, your properties.
Well, but not only that, it also states the town of Monroe, and I'm quoting from the letter from the commissioner. The town of Monroe is not authorized to utilize any wastewater capacity over its 133,000.
And meanwhile, they told us in the meeting the opposite. That's why
Maybe you should sue the county, no. But I think that, that's why I said, I think I said this to you, Supervisor, when we discussed this. I said, if the county is telling you you're going to hook up, then give us the letter saying that, because the last letter we have says, no, you can't.
Well, let me correct that, Mr. Nugent. They didn't say that we can hook up. They said the town of Monroe has the power.
Right, but the only reason you're not hooking up is because we have a moratorium imposed on us by the county. That's the only reason.
I understand that.
So how can we lift their moratorium?
I understand that. So other than going ahead with a lawsuit, which we both don't want to do, what's the situation? What do we do here? Your local
Well, I heard you talk. I heard you talk about the septic, an amendment, and if that's an option, that might be the choice that you have, because clearly it seems that connection to the sewer is not. So for those parcels that are in Moodna anyway, I think you said one of them is not.
If the town board can adopt or amend local law 4.
Of what year? Excuse me, what year was that local law that you're referring to?
Well, you guys created it when the moratorium went into effect. You wanted to help property owners.
We've had a couple of moratoriums since 1998.
There's been millions of them.
Right.
My 30-year career,
He's talking about the Moodna moratorium, which was essentially placed upon us by the county.
Okay, so our local law was back in 2022?
I think you may be talking about, even there's one pending now, that 5721E, I believe, we're talking about the central sewer, that language about which properties
Correct.
could or had to connect and which could have septic. I'd have to review that. I'm not sure if that prevents you, but I'm assuming from what you're telling me, if you need an amendment, then there must be language in there that doesn't allow these parcels to have septic right now.
We got Board of Health approval and everything on the septic design. It's just that the attorney for the planning board, when we went back, said you can't do it because you don't meet the bulk requirement. So local law, the only way, when we discussed this with the attorneys, our attorney, he said they got two options. They got to amend local law number 4 to say that the local law number 4 trumps the bulk requirements, because you need 1 acre to do a septic system. So you either got to say it, it trumps it, and then they can go ahead and approve that design we have, and we can hook up. But then it's up to the applicant to say, all right, if we can do those two on septic, we can wait for the moratorium on something on the Walton Terrace lot, or do whatever we got to do.
Are all 3 lots in Moodna, or no?
Yeah.
They are, okay, yeah.
So you could, so based on what you just said, you could, let's take the one lot that's not included in the subdivision.
The upper lot.
Right.
Walton Terrace
Okay.
lot.
So you have the other lot that you're subdividing into 2 lots. So is it possible you can place the house on the lot that would exist if it was approved with the septic system there, and then wait potentially for the subdivision to be approved?
I don't follow you. I mean,
Like
So
develop that
basically
lot
you're using the fact that the bulk requirement would be met for 1 lot.
It'll eat up the other side of the lot on that parcel.
even the 2 lots together, the 2 houses are going to build don't equal 1 acre. You need your,
Okay, I didn't realize that. I got you. It's 1 acre. I got it.
Septic system.
This design work that was performed and approved was done.
Could you please,
Into the mic, please, talk into the mic.
Talk into the mic.
This project started.
No, a little closer.
This project. No, but this, I don't need
I know.
it. I can just, I'm trying.
Yeah, but we need it for our,
Okay, well, this project, like Mr. Caldonado said, started in 2018. And as far as the taxes are concerned, taxes were paid, and then money was provided back. I had a meeting with the tax collectors, and they said, well, we don't know what's going on because the SBL's changed multiple times when, Twin Lakes was developed. So they had to make some easement rights up there, and they then again changed it. That's how all this confusion has started. because of Twin Lakes and the subdivision, the lot lines, and we adhered to whatever they wanted to do to make it right, to help them, which obviously through that confusion of SBLs for the lots and everything else and the signing off, this is what created the cluster and the miscommunication or the confusion for everyone. There's no one person to blame, but this is what happens, you know, when you're dealing with, you know, government things and that nature. But as far as taxes, again, like Mr. Caldonado said, nowhere in the world can you show me that you're in a sewer district paying taxes for maybe 18 years, and then come 2017, like Mr. Cardone said, you're looking at the bill for that $5 charge or $8 charge. I mean, you pay the taxes, whatever it is. So I'm just saying that, you know, and this was discussed already. And this was discussed about even paying whatever the arrears were, which was an issue at all. But again, there are SBLs for the property. The design has been completed. It's been all approved until, and again, this moratorium started 3.5 years into the project that I have already exhausted funds from my family to build a home there. And I understand your position, the board here, and everybody's position, but the officials here are in place to help the people. And me being one of those...
And we're trying to help you, but the issue is...
On my side of Mr. Cardone, on my side of where I'm standing at this podium, $127,000 later, I'm way overboard out of my family's pocket. That's how I see it. And I understand everybody has their reasoning, but I never said a word in 5 years. It's the first time I got up to say something, because I went through the ZBA, I went to the planning board, I went to the county, I went here. It's approved, it's approved, it's approved. And then we come back and there's something else. If you don't want to do it, you should state that right on the record that you don't want to do it, and then we go down a different path. But I don't know how many times that I've never said a word, 5 years. How many times has
I find that hard to believe. He's never said a word.
When I talk to you, I can talk, but I never, because I don't want to talk in front of the board, because I do talk loud, and it comes screwed sometimes, but I let him do all the talking.
I think this board is willing to help you, but I think
Absolutely.
the conundrum that's created with it has to be worked through legally. And I think, Mr. Nugent, if you can have a conversation with Ashley Torrey from our planning board, and we can work through it, and we'll put it on the agenda for March 4th. I'm sorry to delay it, but I can't sit here and make a motion to approve it tonight.
I sit on a board myself, and I know it's not one vote. You need the 3, but I want you to understand something here, is that I'm willing to even concede on the non-conforming lot. And like Mr. Caldonado said, even when Scott Green was in charge of Moodna, and I have meetings with him, and now Jamie's there and everybody else, this has never come out. It's always been on the map. It runs through my property, the sewer. It really does. You can see it.
Can we authorize Mr. Nugent to reach out to the county as well to figure out what contact has been?
I don't think Mr. Nugent has to reach out to the county, because we've received the county's opinion.
Right, but they're saying completely different.
I spoke to the county with Mr. Schaefer about 3 weeks ago. And the
So
county,
where is this coming from that sued the town of Monroe?
excuse me?
He just had mentioned, unless I misheard, that someone from the county said to sue the town of Monroe because we're the only ones who can authorize this. So when I'm staring at Orange County Department of Public Works saying, absolutely not, you can't allow this, and 2 different letters, I'm just wondering, do we need to have someone reach out from
Well, forget the septic systems, you amend the code.
council to
We
the
can
county?
I'm willing to wait on the upper non-conforming lot for the sewer moratorium to be over, whenever that might be. But I should be granted and not landlocked for my, excuse me? I'm not landlocked where I can't put the septic in because of the local law.
And why does this not fall under, can anyone answer why this doesn't fall under a ZBA variance for the lot size? Like, it's just too variant, it was denied.
Listen, I think if we do research, you were granted the ability to build on the 1 lot, based on, and I'd have to look it
But
up.
how do we build without hooking up to the sewer?
No, with septic.
It's not, it's a quarter-acre lot. Where you gonna put a septic system on a quarter-acre lot?
The upper is a quarter, it's about
We
approximately
gotta deal with a well.
1.15 in acreage. The lower lots consume the bulk of the land mass. The upper lots are approximately, the upper lot non-conforming is approximately 13,000 square foot.
Those were all like bungalow lots years ago.
Yeah,
They
they
were
were-
like 50
that's
feet
part of-
wide and,
that's- yeah.
yeah, they're very small lots.
They're all small, less than quarter-acre.
So can we do this? Can we put it back on the agenda for March 4th? We'll have council speak to council at the planning board and our engineer.
Ashley Torres?
Yep,
Okay.
Ashley, yeah, Tori. And I will have our engineer look into it too. I'm actually meeting with our engineer tomorrow, highway superintendent myself, and we will,
I would say to let you know that the town planning board engineer approved the layout, approved the septics, the Board of Health approved it. It's just that when the attorney for the planning board said, well, you don't meet the bulk requirement, it doesn't matter that they approved it, you don't meet the requirement. So,
This was approved with Ms. Torres at the meeting. The engineering firm, the planning board engineering firm that I pay for, plus my own, everybody approved it, and at the last minute, she came up with this and said, well, you gotta go back to the planning board for the local law to be somehow amended for you to do your septic system.
so if we can do that, you know, like I said, he's willing to.
let us work through it with our attorneys, and we'll have an opinion, I would think, Brian, by March 4th.
Yeah, but let's be clear. So, the only thing I see that we can help you with is the discussion of an amendment to the local law for septic. We cannot help you with that moratorium. I can assure you that.
I'm okay with that, with you trying to work that out with Ms. Torres from the planning board, so I can have at least to build one of my homes for myself, my family there, and the other one, and not worried about the non-conforming up top, and I'm willing to forego that at the moment until you decide to somehow fix this moratorium we're in. I'm willing to do that. I don't want to go through a lawsuit, but I don't want to be landlocked either.
I understand that.
I spent
And
over $100,000.
I understand that. And let me say this,
You gotta
if
respect that money that was
you
spent
did
on
bring
my
a
family.
lawsuit, by all means, the town, may end up benefiting from that because we're not the ones imposing it. The town is not.
It's crazy. I hate lawsuits. It's crazy.
Yeah, but listen, the
Not
town.
that has nothing to do with it. I'm in the same situation in the village of Chester, where the mayor of the village of Chester called me up and asked me if my client would do a joint venture suit against the county about this, because I got Popeyes wants to build, but we can't.
They're
hook up.
also burdened
they're
by
in
the
the
same
also-
moratorium in the village of
they're in
Chester.
the
So
same-
they're in the same boat.
You're not building a Popeyes though, right?
I want to live there with my
Okay.
daughter.
Oh, okay.
That's it.
All right, so let's put it on for March 4th. We'll see you then.
Thank you.
Thank you for coming, I appreciate it.
I appreciate your time. I'm sorry.
Yeah,
And I'm
always.
sorry my frustration, Tony.
No, I understand the frustration.
It's
It's
been going
a
on so
catch-22.
long. You know?
All right,
I appreciate your assistance. I really do in your time.
all right.
Thank you so
Thank
much.
you, guys.
All right.
Okay, item 8.2 is adoption of the revised local law 3, 2023 of the rental registry. Council? There's, yeah, that's what I thought.
I think you did it after the close of the public hearing.
Yeah,
but
that's what I
do
thought.
you have any
Okay.
motion or not?
And there's no documentation with it.
No,
think-
yeah, I was gonna say, I don't have anything attached.
Yeah, there's nothing attached because that's what we did where you abstained.
Yeah, I think we did it at the
Okay.
close of the public hearing.
Yes.
Okay. Item 8.3 is a dial, and I'm telling you the reason that's on there. Val and I had the conversation. You were trying to avoid the numbers with the local laws.
It's the lower ones with the old business.
Oh.
Yeah.
All right, well, that's done. Okay, item 8.3 is a dial ride updated drug testing program policy. This is a requirement It's been updated for this year. Good evening. And I just want to make a motion to approve that. I'll read the resolution. Now therefore be it resolved, the above whereas clauses are incorporated herein as if set forth in full. The resolution is titled to adopt drug and alcohol program testing policy relating to town's dial-a-ride. Town Board hereby adopts the current, Section 2, the Town Board hereby adopts the current February 2024 drug and alcohol program testing policy of the town relating to the dial-a-ride program. Section 3, Sal, can you shut that door, please? Section 3, the town supervisor and any other officer or employee as directed by the town supervisor is hereby authorized to take any and all necessary actions to carry out the provisions of this resolution. And Section 4, the resolution shall be effective immediately. Do I have a second?
Poole, second.
Call the question.
Am I?
Scancarello, aye.
Cardone, aye.
Poole, aye.
Richardson, aye.
Okay. Item 8.4 is an intermunicipal agreement with dial-a-bus services with the town of Chester. You have the agreement in front of you. So this came about because we have a couple of residents who live on Lakes Road outside the district. I had a conversation with one of them. The next day, I actually had a meeting, and Brandon Holdridge was at the meeting, supervisor at Town of Chester. We discussed this. He was very open to it. So Mr. Nugent's firm prepared this intermunicipal agreement. I'll read the therefores. Actually, Dory, would you mind reading?
Yes.
Thanks.
Now therefore, the parties agree as follows. 1, the town of Monroe agrees to provide to the residents of the town of Chester dial-a-ride curb-to-curb service once per week between the hours of 8:30 a.m. and 3:30 p.m., beginning on February 1st, 2024, and continuing thereafter for the terms of this contract. The town of Monroe agrees to service on Fridays, service on Wednesdays, or other additional days may be provided upon agreement by both municipalities. The cost of service on each additional day of service shall be the same as the cost of service on Fridays. The service contemplated herein shall entail the transportation of Town of Chester residents from the following locations: Doug Road to the southwest portion of Bull Mine Road to LaRoe Road, Trout Brook Drive, Ralphie Lane, Joseph Court, Brookview Drive, Minnow Lane, Sunfish Lane, Pickerel Road, Pike Road, Camp Monroe Road, Windridge 1, Windridge 2, Lake Hill Farms, and all roads in the Town of Chester section of the Walton Park and Lake Region Boulevard areas located in the Town of Chester. The service shall entail transportation of the residents to locations within the Town of Monroe. Rules of operation, including cancellations for inclement weather, shall be the same as those employed by the Town of Monroe for its own dial-a-ride service. Number 3, the Town of Monroe shall provide all services and equipment contemplated under this contract, including, but not limited to, buses, drivers, dispatching, insurance, and administration. Number 4, the Town of Chester agrees to pay $7,900 for each day of service per week for the duration of the agreement. Payment for services will be prorated weekly according to the services provided. Number 5, the Town of Chester agrees to reimburse the Town of Monroe for all costs and expenses in operating the dial-a-ride service being offered to the Town of Chester residents, including but not limited to salaries, benefits, maintenance, insurance, administration costs, i.e. dispatching, scheduling, record-keeping, the percentage of the local match for county payment, or for such other incidental expenses that may be incurred by the Town of Monroe. Invoices shall be submitted by the Town of Monroe quarterly beginning on April 1st, 2024, and then continuing each quarter thereafter. The Town of Chester shall make payments to the Town of Monroe by the end of the month following the last day of the previous quarter. Number 6, the Town of Chester further agrees that all revenues associated with the service shall be the property of the Town of Monroe. Revenues include all fares, federal funding, state transportation operating assistance, STOA, funding, and any other funding source. The Town of Chester agrees that upon signing of this contract, it will pay to the Town of Monroe the sum of $7,900. The Town of Chester agrees to defend, indemnify, and hold harmless the Town of Monroe and its respective officers, employees, and agents from and against all claims, actions, and suits, and will defend the Town of Monroe and its respective officers, employees, and agents at its own cost and at no cost to the Town of Monroe in any suit, action, or claim, including appeals for personal injury to or death of any person or loss or damage of property arising out of or resulting from the negligent activities or omissions of the Town of Chester. These indemnification provisions are for the protection of the Town of Monroe and its respective officers, employees, and agents only, and shall not establish of themselves any liability to third parties. The provisions of this section shall survive the termination of this agreement.
Because the next
Yep.
paragraph's exactly the same, just reverses indemnification,
Okay.
so I don't think you need to read that.
Nope.
It's just the reverse for the Town of Chester.
So number 9 applies to the reverse. Number 10, this agreement shall be governed by the laws of the state of New York, and the venue of any litigation shall be Orange County. Number 11, this agreement constitutes the entire agreement between the parties and supersedes all prior negotiations, representations, or agreements, either oral or written. This agreement may not be modified except in writing signed by the parties. Number 12, this agreement shall be deemed effective as to its validity as of the date of signing of the last municipality and shall commence on the date set forth in paragraph 1 herein. A resolution of each town board shall be attached to this agreement, evidencing each town board's approval of this agreement. This agreement shall terminate on December 31st, 2024, but may be extended for additional one-year periods upon mutual consent of the parties as expressed in writing signed by the parties. I make that motion.
I'll second.
Discussion?
Yep.
For the attorney, item number 7 refers to the $7,900 as well as number 4. I just want to make sure that right now this agreement only applies for 1 day of service, but if it was to increase to 2 or 3 days of service, that $7,900 would be renegotiated.
No, it would be added.
It would be
So-
doubled.
It would be doubled or
Yeah.
tripled.
Like, that's the rate per day, so for the year, an annual rate for 1 day. So if they added a day, then it would be $7,900 for each of those 2 days.
Okay, so we don't need another agreement, it's just automatic. All right, thank you.
You could always amend if they come to us with that. And just to be clear, the resolution is to authorize the supervisor. I'm sorry you went through all that. I didn't know why you're reading it. That was the entire agreement, but not the resolution, which would just be a resolution authorizing the supervisor to execute that agreement that you so articulately read.
Just really like transparent government here.
So I will make a motion that we authorize the supervisor of the Town of Monroe to sign the IMA with the Town of Chester to provide dial-a-bus services in the amount of $7,900 to start February 1st, 2024, and end December 31st, 2024.
Bingham will second.
Call the question?
Bingham, aye.
Scangarello, aye.
Cardone, aye.
All aye.
Richardson, aye.
So moved. Okay. Val, I'll give you a signed copy after the meeting.
Oh, actually, this actually says that he is the supervisor for the town of Woodbury, New York. So Brandon is the supervisor of the town of Chester.
Where do you see that?
On my
notary.
copy anyway, it says, in witness thereof,
Oh,
and then
yeah, it
under
does.
Brandon Holdridge, it says supervisor for the town of Woodbury.
Catch.
Okay, we'll change that
We
to
need to
Chester.
change.
Oh, and another town of Woodbury at the bottom as well.
By fault, counsel. I read it. I didn't see that. Okay. All right. Item 8.5 is the Highway Department vehicle purchase. Superintendent Patterson.
I believe all council members know, except for Maureen, back a couple months ago, we had a fire inside the garage. We were able to get the truck out, blah, blah, blah. We got rid of the truck. We received $187,500 for that truck. After it caught on fire, they totaled it. It was a total loss, so we're looking to replace that truck to get our fleet back up to a little bit to par. And so I'm requesting the purchase price for the complete plow truck. It's plows, plow, wing plow, salt spreader, the works. We went with stainless steel body on it because the steel that they're making this equipment out of today is just, it's terrible steel. We have a 2021 truck that is already starting to rust inside the body where we can't even get to, that we found the other day. I've tried every avenue to get the price down lower and lower. It's a little bit higher than our last purchase, but we went with a little bit of lesser equipment on it. So I'm asking the board to purchase this truck for $294,800 and, hang on one second, $821.98. This is,
Motion to approve that?
thank you.
I'll
And this-
second.
This is under Sourcewell bidding.
Right, and just so everyone knows, the balance is in our highway fund balance to pay for that additional 100,000 and change.
When will the truck be ready?
I can tell you that I am confident that the cab and chassis will be ready by the end of May. It'll be built by the end of May. I worked some magic, and they bumped it up on the list, is what they did. The other parts, we're not using the same exact parts from the other company. That they just came in after we ordered the last two, so they're getting ready to go into fabrication now. So I'm going to say by next fall, we should have the third truck.
So then this plow truck will be in the rotation for next winter's?
Yes, all three of them, I think, will
Okay.
be pushed out to that. So, and we've been struggling to keep the fleet. And again, it isn't just the old fleet, it's the 2020 truck fleet. The computers, the DEF, the diesel particulate fuel, is just, it's a mess. It's a mess, and it's not getting any better. We are saving money, but when these trucks go down, we have this Leatherneck Garage come in, and he brings in probably $100,000 worth of computers to diagnose, and the only other person to do it is the manufacturer. So he comes there, diagnoses it, works with our mechanic, tells him what parts, and then he comes back and resets the computer. If not, we would have to pay that ungodly tow bill all the way to Mac, and then have them do the same thing. So he's saving us money by doing this, and we work well with Troy from Leatherneck Garage, so.
Questions? Call the question?
Bingham, aye.
Scancarello, aye.
Cardone, aye.
Full aye.
Richardson, aye.
So moved. Item 8.6 is an amendment to the fee schedule to include town hall meeting room rental fees. So the fees were adjusted based on other rooms of similar size in the area. Obviously, you could see 1 through 3 days, it's $850 a day, 4 to 6, $750, 7 days or more, $700, and for nonprofit organizations, it's $400. Also keep in mind that the town has and also will reserve the right to waive the fee through a town board resolution for not-for-profit organizations. Okay?
Full second.
Bingham, aye.
Scancarello, aye.
Cardone, aye.
Full aye.
Richardson, aye.
So moved. All right, so item 8.7 is a resolution approving the use of town hall of this meeting room by CV Associates for February 6th through the 8th at a rate of $850 per day. The required certificate of insurance has been provided. They've been here for the last 4 years in this room doing engineering credits and classes. So they'll start tomorrow. That's where all these tables are at. So I'll make that motion.
Will second.
Call the question.
Bingham, aye.
Scancarello, aye.
Cardone, aye.
Full aye.
Richardson, aye.
Okay, next up is Dingman's Dairy, Town Hall Meeting Room rental. I'll make a motion to approve the use of the Town Hall Meeting Room by Dingman's Dairy from March 1 through March 3rd at a rate of $850 per day. The required certificate of insurance has been provided.
Bingham will second.
Call the question.
Bingham, aye.
Scancarello, aye.
Cardone, aye.
Full aye.
Richardson, aye.
Okay, Dory, did you want to cover 8.9?
Sure. So we have a resolution approving the town hall meeting room on March 7th, 2024, from 6 to 8 p.m. by the Monroe Woodbury Community Coalition for a Teenager Trends event to include presentations and Narcan training. To give you a little bit of background about this, last year the Monroe Woodbury Community Coalition used this room to do Narcan training, and it was very well received. The Community Coalition has been meeting under the leadership of Liam Gaffney, who's doing an absolutely wonderful job. He, along with input from many other people throughout the county, have come up with a really wonderful program to talk about the challenges that teenagers face when it comes to drug and alcohol abuse. And this is going to be a wonderful event. It's going to be for parents, for teenagers. It's going to talk about the things that, quite frankly, me as a parent don't really want to think about, and that is social media and access to drugs. It's a really important event. It's going to have a wonderful impact on the community. So I make a motion that we allow the Monroe Woodbury Community Coalition to use the room on March 7th from 6 to 8 p.m.
Second for discussion. I just had a question.
Yeah.
I know that when we waive the fee, obviously they don't put a deposit down or pay us for the room, but I was wondering about the insurance.
The insurance is covered through us because it's a school event.
Okay. Just because when you involve, kids.
They had it previously, and we covered it. It was approved by our insurance agent.
Okay.
And we
perfect.
sit on the board. So we sit on the board of the Monroe Woodbury Coalition, so it's one of our things.
Okay. No, I just didn't want to accept insurance liability for if I was going to say that there was a group of, a demographic prone to accident, I would say teenagers.
Not this group of kids.
This is a really good group, and among the people who will be here will be members of law enforcement. So we'll have
No, it's
the
not a matter
sheriff's
of
office.
responsibility, but again, just as a insurance question of tripping and falling, something as simple as that. I was just curious about our insurance and taking on that liability. But you're saying it's under our umbrella.
Yes.
Okay.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
Okay. Call the question.
Bingham, aye.
Scancarello, aye.
Cardone, aye.
Pool, aye.
Richardson, aye.
So moved. Item 8.10 is a Solitude Lake Management Agreement. I need someone to make a motion approving the contract agreement with Solitude Lake Management for the 2024 treatment and for the supervisor to sign.
I'll make a motion for the supervisor to sign the Solitude Lake Management Agreement for 2024 for Round Lake in the amount of $25,662.70.
I'll second.
Question?
Bingham, aye.
Scancarello, aye.
Cardone, aye.
Pool, aye.
Richardson, aye.
Okay, so moved. Item 8.11 is the 2024 library agreement, which is the same as it has been for the last, 8 years. The amount and the payment that the town will be giving the library is $1,469,325.62. So we need a motion for supervisor to sign that as well.
We'll make a motion that the supervisor signs the library agreement for 2024.
I'll second.
One thing, and this has been something that we really need for the library to own up to and step up to, is when we have chargebacks in taxes. The library has refused to pay back the taxpayers for those chargebacks. Back by thousands over the years. Like,
I agree.
Mr. Nugent,
Yeah,
I would like you to.
I heard you, yeah.
No, I just want to repeat it so people can hear it out here, and
Oh, on your
George
mic,
doesn't
okay.
yell at me speaking to the mic.
I'll pretend I didn't hear it yet then. Go ahead.
If you could send a letter to the library asking for chargebacks to be paid back to the town of Monroe taxpayers?
Absolutely.
All right, thank you.
Would that letter also give the library an idea of how much we've done in the past? So maybe in their budget for the future, they could allocate a specific amount? Just to give them an idea.
So let me just explain to you. About 3 years ago, I had a conversation with the library board, and the library board requested that the town create a chargeback line item to charge the taxpayers so that we can recoup the money. But basically what that does is it double taxes the taxpayers, and I refused. I told them, no, that's a line item you need to put in your budget. So we'll see where that goes. Hopefully they can come to their senses and understand that we're not trying to beat them. We're just trying to make the taxpayer whole. So, yep.
Need a call question?
Yeah, you made the motion. Sal, you seconded it? Okay, call the question.
Hingham, aye.
Scangarello, aye.
Cardone, aye.
Poole, aye.
Richardson, aye.
Okay, so moved. Item 8.12 is a DG management bond reduction. Essentially, it's taking, let's see, the original security to benefit the town of Monroe for public improvements was $1,292,410. We, the town board, previously reduced that amount to $913,388.50 in September of '23. And now the applicant has prepared the attached security reduction request, which was last revised January 29, 2024, which reduces the security to $326,914.22. So the form of security should be acceptable to the attorney for the town. I'll make that motion.
I'll second.
Any discussion? Pat, I don't know if you want to add the work that's being done up there?
Sorry, before you do that, I have a quick question. I just reacted slowly. This was already approved, as this is like a reduction that was already voted on and approved, and now we are just sort of recognizing the difference that they're
When
paying
was
us
it
back.
approved?
I'm asking.
No,
Never
we
approved
approved
this.
an original,
Yeah, we
we
approved-
approved an original reduction.
Right.
And now we're approving an additional
Oh,
reduction.
I see.
Because they've satisfied a portion of the work that money was being set aside for.
Okay.
Just in
It's-
case
it's-
they didn't.
And that's what the highway
Analysis-wise, it's
superintendent is
reviewed.
going to tell us the work that was done. That would cause the reduction.
It's reviewed by the engineer, so the
Right.
town engineer approves it, but then presents it to the board for approval
Okay.
formally.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
So working closely with DG and Dave Fritz from McGooey, Hauser, and Etzel. They've completed a whole bunch of work in there. They put drainage in. They even put binder on the road, and we were completely satisfied. And anything that we tell them, they are more than happy to help us out and do the right thing if we see that there is an insufficiency in this project. So it's been a pleasure working with them.
Thank you. Call the question.
Hingham, aye.
Scangarello, aye.
Cardone, aye.
Poole, aye.
Richardson, aye.
Okay. We got a twofer tonight, huh, Lipa? Twofer tonight, huh? So the next up is BMG Monroe Holdings, letter of credit reduction, similar to what we just did. The amount of credit to be posted for BMG Monroe Holdings. The amended terms and conditions are as follows. The amendment is subject to the consent of the beneficiary, who is requested to convey same by officially signing a copy of this amendment and returning it to the issuing bank at the address on page 2 of this amendment. Amount of this letter of credit is decreased by U.S. dollars, $1,447,743.14 for a new total available under this line of credit for $677,378.54, and the expiration date is extended to December 31st, 2024. Do we have, I'll make the motion.
I'll second.
Any other discussion? Call the question.
Bingham, aye.
Scancarello, aye.
Cardone, aye.
Poole, aye.
Richardson, aye.
Okay, so somebody make a motion for the supervisors to sign it.
I'll make a motion for the supervisor to sign the letter of credit reduction for BMG.
I will second.
Call the question.
Bingham, aye.
Scancarello, aye.
Cardone, aye.
Poole, aye.
Okay,
Richardson, aye.
so moved. Okay, New York State Association of Towns, item 8.14. I'll make a motion approving the following elected officials' attendance at New York State Association of Towns annual meeting and training taking place February 18th through the 21st, 2024 at the Marriott Marquis in New York City. Supervisor Cardone, Councilwoman Hull, Councilwoman Richardson, and Highway Superintendent James Pat Patterson. Registration fee for Supervisor Cardone, Councilwoman Hull, and Highway Superintendent Patterson is $150 per person, which is the membership rate. Discounted registration fee for Councilwoman Richardson as a result of recently attending newly elected training officials training is $50. Hotel accommodations for Supervisor Cardone, Councilwoman Hull, and Highway Superintendent Pat Patterson at $255 a night, which is the discounted rate secured by Orange County Association of Towns, Villages, and Cities. Can I have a second?
I'll second.
Call the question.
Well, just want to say I'm glad that Councilwoman Richardson is going. She's going to learn a lot. I know she went to the newly elected officials, and I'm glad she's going to do the commute and not stay overnight and save the taxpayers some money as well. So other than that, I think it's a great idea that so many members of the council can go to it, and the highway superintendent as well. Learn a lot.
Thank you.
Thanks. Call the question.
Bingham, aye.
Scancarello, aye.
Cardone, aye.
Poole, aye.
Richardson, aye.
Okay, so moved. Item 8.15, which is the 2024 March Regional New York State Town Clerks Association meeting in Saratoga from March 10th through the 11th. Hotel for overnight accommodations is $121, and the cost of the meeting, including lunch, is $40. I'll make the motion to approve that.
Poole, a second.
Call the question.
Bingham, aye.
Scancarello, aye.
Cardone, aye.
Poole, aye.
Richardson, aye.
Okay.
Do you need lunch, Val? You need to eat?
She's going to eat $40.
Yeah, get your money's worth.
You can get one of those big salads.
Okay, item 8.16 is the well testing plan proposal for St. Patrick's Villa property, which is the Palatine Sisters property. So the proposal submitted to the town of Monroe from Alpha Geoscience is to prepare a well testing plan for the water supply wells located on the St. Patrick's Villa property site. This proposal addresses the preparation of the well testing plan and estimated cost to implement the plan that will include Alpha Services, water well contractor or well driller services, and laboratory quality, water quality testing services. The preparation of this well testing will be coordinated with the town's engineering consultant, MHE Engineering. So the scope of work includes preparation of well testing plan that describes the individual wells and a simultaneous testing of 2 wells, data analysis and report preparation. We're going to request quotes from the 2 qualified water well contractors to provide test pumping systems and equipment necessary to evaluate those wells with the well testing plan. We're going to request quotes from 2 qualified New York State Department of Health certified laboratories and analysis of water quality samples required for new water source approval. The submittal of a cost of the estimate to the town that addresses the estimated cost for Alpha, the water well contract, and the laboratory to provide the services described in the water well testing plan, and that total estimated cost for Alpha to perform the described scope of work is $3,500. This will be done in order to help us combine the Palatine project with Water District 10 and hopefully with the Arrow Park Water District.
I think we're getting a good bang for our buck for that report.
Somebody want to make that motion?
Second for discussion.
Somebody got to make
Oh,
the
sorry.
You can make the motion.
For discussion.
And then you can second.
Didn't you have to second?
Oh, okay, sorry, you're making the motion, I'm seconding the motion for discussion. I just wanted to clarify for both my edification and the public's, these would be used to, these are the same wells that the Palatine Sisters or the new Pilati Village project would be using, or they're on a different parcel and site?
Same wells.
And so why is the town of Monroe incurring that cost?
Because we have to do this to combine the two other water districts. It had nothing to, this has nothing to do with testing that was already done by Pilati. This is to see if those wells are capable of supporting the two districts that we, the town, want to add.
Okay. So we're using private wells, but we're creating a water, or we're attempting to create a water district from what would have been private wells?
Well, they're private wells which will become the ownership of the town once the construction is complete, or
And also
even
that the
prior
test-
before
okay,
that.
And the testing shows that it could support what.
Okay,
the
so
other
yeah,
districts
it's
could
a hope that,
Yes, it's
but
a hope.
if we do not succeed on this analysis, will they remain private wells, or that those wells are
Oh, they'll still be
becoming
under our
Town of
ownership.
Monroe? Okay, makes sense, thank you.
We'll just have to search for it.
Yep.
Okay, can you add into that, giving the supervisor permission to sign the agreement, Mary, into your motion?
Sure, and I'll make a motion also that, well, in addition to the other motion, that the supervisor signs the agreement for the well testing program in the amount of $3,500.
Okay, call the question?
Bingham, aye?
Scancarello, aye.
Cardone, aye.
Pool, aye.
Richardson, aye.
Okay. Item 9.1, resolution adopting local law 1 of 2024 to amend.
This is actually going to be local law number 2.
Yeah, okay, that's what I was going to say. Okay. Resolution to adopt local law number 2, 2024 to amend Chapter 51 of the Town Code for Vehicles and Traffic. I'll make that motion.
Second for discussion. Could someone just verbally tell me the intent of this chapter? Because I'm not just reading it, again, not a lawyer, but it's vague to me and seems to be empowering private property owners to control and conduct traffic, but because it says designated persons and a private property owner falls under that, and then designated areas, what were we trying to achieve here?
So this law is actually the opposite. It's a law that persons that own private apartment complexes, shopping centers, things of that nature, can come to the town and ask the town, in this case it'd really be the state police, to be able to enforce traffic regulations on that property. Otherwise, the police technically can't go in there and conduct any enforcement of regular traffic regulations so this is something in the vehicle and traffic law that allows the town to do this. We have at least one request at this point, but first our recommendation was to adopt this law and then to approve those requests by resolution. Otherwise, every time somebody comes to you and asks you to do this, you would have to amend the local law and go through the public hearing
So
process.
it's supposed to be as broad as possible to be able to accept those resolutions?
Yeah,
Is
so
that-
this
okay.
part is broad to accept them, and then anyone requesting
Those resolutions would be
would come
extremely
to the
specific.
town board, and you would then look at that specific
Okay.
situation to determine if you want to do it. This doesn't actually right now authorize
Anyone to do anything?
anyone to have anything, but
Excellent.
it'll be the resolution that follows which is not on tonight, but that
Okay,
would come
good.
after.
I'm glad I asked. Thank you.
You're welcome.
Call the question?
Bingham, aye?
Scancarello, aye.
Cardone, aye.
Pool, aye.
Richardson, aye.
Okay. Resolution adopting local law number 3 of 2024 to amend Chapter 47 of the Town Code regarding tax exemptions for volunteer firefighters and ambulance workers. So, essentially, it's a 10% reduction in the assessment, and there's a 2-year requirement prior to being able to, the town being able to grant that exemption. So,
And also with the county, because several meetings ago, we wanted to make sure that all the towns in the county approved
so
the same rate.
everybody so that I have heard so far has approved 10%.
Good.
So I'll make the motion.
Second?
Second for correction on the document. Mike Macon, unfortunately, is not a council person anymore. And I'm not on the,
Oh,
yeah. I can't fill his shoes. He's much larger than me. The resolution,
you
the
can-
second page has Mike as second in command
Yeah, I
still.
got you, okay. So if the resolutions are right, we can obviously just reflect the roll call as taken tonight. We'll correct that resolution, but obviously you can still take the vote tonight.
I was just letting you know.
Yeah, unless you want Mr. McGinn to come back and vote
Yeah,
on this.
he'll come in. He was just here.
Okay. I'm just at a loss where it is on page 2.
It's just on the
Roll
resolution
call
itself.
On the resolution at the bottom.
To vote
Not
yea
on
or
the law.
nay is Mike's name.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Gotcha. Okay. Call the question.
Hingham, aye.
Scangarello, aye.
Cardone, aye.
full aye.
Richardson, aye.
Okay, item 9.3, Working Leader Highway Department.
Requesting the supervisor and town board approve Mr. Tor Mitbo as the working leader for the highway department. I did very intense interviews with 5 employees, myself, Human Resources, and another party, and we feel that Tor Mitbo, and polling the employees, that Tor Mitbo would be the best suited for a working leader for the town of Monroe.
Okay, I will make that motion.
I'll second.
Second for discussion. I'm aware of some personnel reorganization in the highway department that I'm not completely clear on, where I don't feel it pertinent to vote on this matter regardless who the personnel is being voted on, because of, I'll just say as a council member being presented with a highway personnel issue, that I would want to table this until I get further clarity on an issue that I see as developing, that I might even recommend that we go into executive session regarding.
I would like that.
Thank you.
All right, so I'll make a motion. It's our last item, so I'll make a motion to go into executive session.
I'll second.
What is the reasoning?
Oh.
I would say personnel issues that would affect a worker's performance and privacy issues for that personnel.
Okay.
And just to be clear, because the motion was sort of pending there, you said table, but are we coming back
gonna
out of
come back.
executive session?
We're gonna come back.
So just adjourned until after executive session, yes?
Okay. I'll make a motion to go into executive session. We got the reason, seconded by Councilman Scangarello. Call the question.
Hingham, aye.
Scangarello, aye.
Cardone, aye.
Full aye.
Richard said aye.
Okay. So moved. George? All right, thank you. Okay, I'll make a motion to return from executive session to the Monday, February 5th Town Board meeting. I'll make a motion.
I'll second.
Call the question.
Hingham, aye.
Scangarello, aye.
Cardone, aye.
Full aye.
Richardson, nay.
Turn?
Yep.
Okay.
To return.
Pat?
So I'm going to go back to, I asked the town board to approve the stipend for working leader Tor Mitbo. And this is to replace.
And to approve Tor Midbo as working leader.
As working leader. And this is to fill the position that Billy Kyles, when he retired, left.
Right. Okay. So I'll make that motion.
I'll second.
Call the question.
Aye.
Scancarello, aye.
Cardone, aye.
Poole, aye.
Richardson, nay.
Okay. Anybody sign up for public speaking?
Dan Burke. Just a reminder, you'll have 3 minutes for public speaking.
Good evening. I'm Dan Burke, elder statesman, 11 Wright Hill Road, town of Monroe, village of Monroe. The reorganizational meeting of January the 2nd was a large disappointment to many of us who were hoping for a new bipartisan approach in the town of Monroe. We watched politics as usual. Our well-respected ex-councilman was appointed to the Board of Ethics. His eligibility to serve was based almost upon a technicality. An active office holder cannot be appointed to the Board of Ethics. Our ex-councilman was only 2 days past holding public office, and now he'll be asked to sit in judgment of complaints against the same board that he just left. Then it came time to appoint seats on the Moodna Sewer Commission, which oversees sewer lines in a joint venture with the village of Chester and the town of Chester. One town board member had previously called Moodna a boondoggle, where appointed members received a solid payment for very little work. One appointment was corrected at the January 17th town board meeting. Thank you. The other seat was not. That appointment appeared to be an intentional affront to a minority member of the board by the three-member majority. A name that was not on the agenda was announced and approved. There was no discussion, no opportunity for public comment, just 3 aye votes. And I would ask the board to please ask the town council if that was a violation of the New York State open meeting law. The same night it came time to choose a backup acting supervisor. The best choice might have been the councilwoman who has been on the board the longest and is most familiar with its operations. Instead, with a 3-2 vote, a less experienced board member who will be busy this year campaigning for a higher office was chosen. This can only be described as a political decision and a declaration that the affairs of the Monroe Town Board will now be decided politically, and there will be no bipartisan approach to good government. So now that bipartisanship has been crushed and board decisions will follow political principles, we must consider the minority members on the town board will need expert legal consultations. Attorneys should be appointed to represent the minority on the board. This is the practice with legislative bodies across the country. Please, no offense to our very competent present town attorney, but our judicial system is adversarial. We are asking our current town attorneys to represent both the majority members and the minority members on many issues where they will be most decidedly disagreeing. The minority should select its own counsel. Costs can be minimized. An attorney can serve part-time, maybe not pro bono, but many a member of our legal community may see this as an opportunity for public service. We, the public, might find a second opinion very helpful. All right, thank you.
Want to comment?
That's all for public comment.
Okay. Anyone want to comment? No. The only thing I will say, Mr. Burke, is that you guys, when you were on the board, did not appoint a counsel for the minority members. You make the claim that Mr. McGinn is on the ethics board to make a judgment about anybody on this board. No, it includes everybody in the town. And I believe you were also on the Moodna Commission. So you did nothing then and got paid as well. And I'll leave it at that.
That is a ridiculous comment to make as an executive
I asked if you wanted to speak.
And
nobody else spoke.
now I am. You cannot
I will make a
preclude
motion
what order
to adjourn.
I speak
I'll
in.
second.
Call the question.
I renounce any and all
Scancarello,
comments
aye.
made.
Cardone, aye.
Poole, aye.
Thank you. Everyone have a good evening.